is not a test.
John Bolton issued a White House press release stating that the U.S. had deployed the USS Abraham Lincoln to the Gulf. And here is a video showing them headed towards the Gulf. Or I did have one. I don't know where it's at. I don't know why it's not showing, but I have it. Oh, wait, I changed the name of it, so hold on. I changed the name of the video. Give me 1 second, I'll put it up there. There we go. So after Israeli, now here's the weird messed up thing. After Israeli intelligence warned that the Iranian government would issue orders to its Iranian Revolutionary Guard to attack the U.S. Navy, the Israeli intelligence warned the U.S. that Iranian government was going to attack the U.S. So, Bolton mentioned they would deploy a bomber strike group to the area right after that. Now, I think they ordered a whole squadron, a whole unit to the Gulf of Mexico, or the Persian Gulf. I'm sorry. So, in one of the photos released, it showed one of the aircraft carriers loaded with several MOABSs, which those are Moabs. They call those the mother of all, explosive devices. And those are the largest non-nuclear bombs I didn't mean to say that, in the military stockpile. This comes after the U.S. convinced the UN to name the Iranian, I shouldn't even said that, Revolutionary Guard and its military counterparts as a T group. The U.S. then sanctioned Irun's oil supply, dwindling it down to nothing. Other countries such as China and Russia have stepped up oil exports to Irun since then. The Iranian Prime Minister, in a meeting with government officials and parliament, is on a media balance campaign. Now, I have a video. It's a horrible video, and it's not bad, but what they say is horrible. So I'm going to let you watch that video. And this is what the Iranian parliament was doing after John Bolton sent the strike force group to the Persian Gulf. So if you're wondering what they're chanting in that video, they're chanting "Death to America." That's the Iranian parliament chanting "Death to America." That's right after National Security Advisor Bolton sent the task force group to the Persian Gulf, along with the nuclear bomber group. And, And I have some more news on that. So remember what I'm telling you about that, all right? So I've got some news to add in onto that. It's going to be a little later. And so remember that John Bolton released an update at midnight on Sunday night, and he actually woke up the president to tell him that the Iranian government planned on attacking U.S. Navy forces. Okay, so remember that. So as I said before, the video you just watched was the Iranian parliament. I'm going to show it to you again. They're all chanting death to America. This isn't good, because when you have a whole parliament, a whole government, and their parliament and or Congress shouting that, it's not going to be good. You know something bad's going to happen. And something bad almost happened, but it wasn't their fault. It wasn't the Iranian. The next one is Iranian false flag by U.S. uncovered. Now, if you remember about Mike Pompeo leaving Angela Merkel in Germany, and he left. He canceled the meeting, all of a sudden left. Where did he go? And you know about the ships heading to the Persian Gulf, and you know that Michael Bolton said that there was a planned attack on the U.S. Navy vessels in the Persian Gulf, as I read earlier. As I spoke before, the topic in the United States sending ships and bombers to Iran because of threats to national security. Sources say the national security matter was a U.S. false flag attack, kind of like what happened in 2001. But not here, but there. It was going to happen there on U.S. forces. So, the national security matter was a U.S. false flag attack on their own Navy ships, uncovered by Iranian forces. Unknown sources confirmed and first reported by Steve Ben Nun on Israeli News Live states that members of the Iranian opposition group People's Mahajan of Iran, who have ties to John Bolton, were arrested trying to purchase speedboats similar to the ones used by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in the Persian Gulf. He received that info 16 hours prior to the mainstream media releasing a headline stating aircraft carriers sent to the Middle East after indications Iran planned to attack on U.S. forces. However, that's not the case. The People's Mahajan are loyalist thugs of the U.S. Basically, they're thugs for hire. And they're loyal to the U.S. The release, the report by the government the government twisted the report and the situation, thinking the info wouldn't get out. So they was like, basically John Bolton ordered the Mahajan, the People's Mahajan, was ordered to carry out an attack on U.S. forces dressed as Iran's Revolutionary Guard. So, why does it matter about the Revolutionary Guard? Well, the United States made the Revolutionary Guard, which is the Iranian army, a terrorist group. So the Mahajan, who follows orders from John Bolton, and carries out missions for the United States government in Iran, was going to dress up as the Revolutionary Guards, as the Iranian military, and they were going to go out to the Persian Gulf where the U.S. Navy was at and attack those ships. That's called a U.S. false flag attack. So, is the national security came from Israeli intelligence hours before Michael Bolton stated that they would use extreme force on Iran. Hours later, Mike Pompeo on a trip canceled a trip, and after the scheme was found out, Mike Pompeo canceled his trip to Germany. Well, he was in Germany and headed to Iraq. And he was called to Iraq in a hurry. So the John Bolton, they want to go to war so bad with Iran, they was going to make a false attack. Now, the information that I gave you was from a member of the member of the press in Iran, which was the People's Mahajan of Iran, who has ties to John Bolton, were arrested trying to purchase speedboats similar to the ones that are used by the Iranian military, which is a terrorist group that was dubbed a terrorist group by the United States. And the United States sent the task force group over there to Iran, and before the people could they had word. So basically what happened was that the United States said that they would use force on Iran, whatever force necessary. John Bolton did. So John Bolton came out and said that there was a national security matter in Iran, and that U.S. Navy ships were going to be attacked. Well, it just so happens that the people that was going to attack the U.S. Navy was hired by the U.S. government to attack our own Navy. Well, it never happened because the people they hired to attack our own Navy ended up being arrested. So a war was averted in the last 2 days. John Bolton does plan on going to war with Iraq or Iran. He does. So the orders didn't get carried out. So the action didn't get carried out. And once they found out the action didn't carried out, John Bolton and Mike Pompeo had to fly over to Iraq. And that's what happened there. So that's the reason why there was a whole plan set up there. So on Twitter, before any of this information came out, on Twitter, people were already talking about it. People had already been talking about it prior to when the orders were issued. This was 3 days ago. Prior to when the orders were issued for the John Bolton sent over the carriers. This is on the 6th. It says Bolton's Iranian thugs busted for planning a false flag attack on U.S. naval forces. That's not the only one. All lies, the U.S. tried to get some Iranians to attack U.S. soldiers. Yes, you read that right. The U.S. tried to attack our own soldiers in order to spark outrage so they'd have American support to go to war in Iran. Now, that was also on May the 6th. I don't know. There's no telling. When this, they're keeping this a hush hush because nobody's reporting this on anything. What you're seeing is what is all the evidence there is of it, besides the other reporter and the officials, the people who got arrested did get arrested, and they were a part of. I think they even come out and said we was going to do it. Axios. An article came out by another media, alternative media source called Axios, brought it out. So,
where in the world is
this is the video, and even the mainstream media was confused on what was happening. And this is a video. This is a video when they found out Mike Pompeo. They didn't know where Mike Pompeo was. Nobody knew. The mainstream media was supposed to catch up with him in Germany. And Mike Pompeo left the media stranded in Germany and couldn't tell them nothing. And the mainstream media said they knew where he went, but they didn't know what it was about. And here's that video.
Where in the world is Secretary of State Mike Pompeo going? Even the reporters traveling with him right now do not know. One thing we do know is that he is not in Germany or headed there. That's because the Secretary of State abruptly canceled his meeting there today with the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. What happened? Well, the State Department is only saying that it was because of, quote, pressing issues. But something so pressing that he essentially stood up one of America's key allies. CNN's Michelle Kaczynski, she's at the State Department, joining me now with much more. Michelle, what are you picking up? What's going on?
Yeah, well, it's not every day that we say that the Secretary of State abruptly changed his planned trip. We don't know exactly where he is right now, and we're not allowed to say where he's going, but that's the situation. So the State Department is saying very little, as you know. And reporters traveling with him were told, we can't tell you exactly where we're going. By the way, you might not be able to say where we are, what we're doing there, until after we leave that location. But the U.S. has made some very dramatic statements and moves over the last few days to counter Iran. It is possible then that this might have something to do with that. So as for the details, we are waiting. But I will say that the State Department and the U.S. government generally acts this way about travel only when the security situation is so sensitive that for safety reasons, they don't disclose locations, say to a war zone. So I'll statements and moves over the last few days to counter Iran. It is possible then
that's what happened after the attempted false flag event. That was the last thing that happened. And Mike Pompeo knew about it, and he went there. So, that's the last thing anybody ever heard about it. Nothing else has been said about it. So, everybody was covering where the hell was Mike Pompeo at, but that's where Mike Pompeo went to. He went to Iraq because their false flag event got interrupted. We were supposed to be at war, basically. We were supposed to be at war, and it got interrupted.